Good morning, students. Yesterday we have learned the way the solids can be deformed and the way the solids can undergo the change in dimensions and corresponding types of stress and strains. We have learned the three types of stress and corresponding three types of strains. Tensile stress, which is also called as longitudinal stress. Corresponding strain is called longitudinal strain. Then shear stress, shear strain, and the third one, the compressibility, that is not compressibility, it is called as hydraulic stress and hydraulic strain, wherein the entire volume of the solid is undergoing change. So that is called as volume stress or hydraulic stress. Correspondingly, it is called as volume strain, right? So we'll develop that little later. Before that, we'll learn the relation between the stress and strain, which was formulated by Robert Hooke in the 17th century by conducting various activities and experiments on different metals. Okay, so for small deformations, the stress is found out to be directly proportional to strain for most of the metals. So that is the Hooke's law. For small deformations, means within the elastic limit. That is what we call it as within the elastic limit. Within the elastic limit, the stress is directly proportional to strain. This relation was stated by Robert Hooke, therefore it is called as very importantly Hooke's law, and such that if you take out the proportionality constant, take out the sign, then you will get stress is equal to K times strain. K times strain, where K is proportionality constant, which is given by stress by strain. Stress by strain. This proportionality constant is called as modulus of elasticity. Modulus of elasticity. Depending on the type of stress and the corresponding strain, we define different moduli of elasticity. Modulus is singular, moduli is plural, right? So depending on the type of dimension, depending on the type of dimensional changes, we are going to have different types of moduli: Young's modulus, bulk modulus, and shear modulus. These are the three types of modulus that we are going to learn bit later. So this is the Robert Hooke's law, right? And this is applicable for most of the metals. For most of the metals, the law is applicable. And there are materials where the Hooke's law is not applicable. So many of the materials and many materials do not obey Hooke's law. And you can say those materials which obey Hooke's law are elastic materials. They possess property of elasticity. And the materials which do not obey Hooke's law are inelastic materials, or what we call as plastic materials, as we have discussed yesterday in the previous video. Plastic materials are those wherein they do not regain their original shape. Therefore, for plastic materials, Hooke's law is not applicable. We will learn that in detail. So before that, how is this change in stress leading to strain, increase in stress, how it leads to change in strain? That's what we are going to learn, the relation between stress and strain. Up to what limit the stress and strain are directly proportional. These are the things what we are going to discuss. So Hooke's law is applicable for most of the solid metals, and for many materials like plastic materials, Hooke's law is not applicable. And even there is a class of materials like rubber like materials, or tissue of iota, which is present in the heart, tissue of iota, which it can be extended to any extent by applying external load. It can be extended to any extent, but the moment load is removed, suddenly it regains its shape. So there, Hooke's law is not applicable. Such class of materials wherein the substances can get extended to any extent under the application of external force and regain their shape, they are called as elastomers. They are called as elastomers. We'll learn about elastomers and the graph of stress versus strain for elastomers little later. First, we'll learn the stress versus strain graph for metal like iron or steel or copper. So, if experiment is conducted by taking a iron wire or a steel wire of certain length, and when the load is attached and the load is attached and how much is the elongation, if these observations are taken, if the load is kept on increasing and corresponding elongation is noted down, then we get a based on the observations of applied external stress and strain, we get a curve. That is what we call it as stress versus strain curve, which is very significant in identifying the materials which are having good strength, and different materials will have different types of stress versus strain curve. Now let us learn about stress versus strain curve. Now we are learning relation between stress and strain for a given material or for a metal under tensile stress experimentally. Experimentally, when it is done, we get a curve of this nature. When we draw the graph of stress versus strain for a metal like iron or steel, let us say for a metal like iron or steel, we get a graph of this nature. What is the meaning of this? Let us learn. Steel wire of a certain length. Steel wire of certain length is taken, and one end of this steel wire is connected to a rigid support. This is the rigid support, and this is loaded with some known weight. Loaded with some known weight. So before loading, what is its original length will be noted down. Then, with the known weight, let us say about 100 gram weight. When 100 gram weight is attached to this iron steel wire, what is its extension will be noted with the help of a telescopic arrangement. So, if there is an extension, then that extension in the length we take it as delta L. Delta L by L gives us tensile strain or longitudinal strain, and the weight itself is the external force. That external force by the cross-sectional area of the wire gives us the tensile stress. So when the tensile stress is noted, for that noted tensile stress, what is the corresponding tensile strain is calculated, and then it will be further loaded with heavier load. So every time when the observation taken, the external load is increased from say 100 gram weight to 200 gram weight, and again the corresponding change in length is noted down. So every time the observation is taken, the external load is kept on increasing. So when we go on doing this experiment, then it is noted that the tensile stress that is developed in the wire is tensile stress, as we have calculated yesterday, is equal to the load, external load, that is weight, divided by cross sectional area. Cross sectional area. Cross sectional area is divided by A. This itself is, we are taking it as tensile stress. For this tensile stress, we note down the corresponding tensile strain, that is longitudinal strain as change in length per unit length. So when it is noted down and using that experimental data, when we draw the graph of stress versus strain, we are getting an interesting graph. First from O to A, almost from O to A, we get a linear graph. Linear graph means what? In this O to A linear graph, the stress is directly proportional to strain. The restoring force produced in the wire per unit area is called as stress. So restoring force per unit area is found to be directly proportional to the strain, change in length per unit length up to point A, right? So this point A is noted as the proportional limit. Point A is called as proportional limit. Proportional limit means until this point A, the stress is found to be directly proportional to strain. It is that point wherein stress is directly proportional to strain. So we get a linear graph. We get linear graph. O to A, we get linear graph. After that, even if we increase the load, when we increase the load from point A, when the external load is increased, further there is an extension in the wire. There is an extension in the wire up to point B. Very interesting thing to take place. From A to B, you see the straight line is no more straight line here. The curve is the graph is no more straight line. The graph is becoming slightly curved from A to B. But still, up to this point B, when the external load is taken out, the wire regains its original length. So B is called yield point. B is called yield point, or it is also called as elastic limit. Elastic limit means between this graph O to B, not only A, between the graph O to B, when the external load is taken out, the material like a steel or any metal is capable of regaining its original length. Regaining its original length means O to B is defining what is known as elasticity region of elasticity, and we define this point B as yield point. B is called elastic limit or yield point, or you can say yield point or elastic limit. This point B is denoted by the corresponding stress here. You can see B is correspondingly denoted by sigma y. Sigma is to represent the stress. Sigma, small sigma, is to represent the stress. Right? So the corresponding stress to the yield point is called yield strength. So corresponding to this point B, corresponding to corresponding to B, the stress, you can say the stress corresponding to B is called as yield strength. Yield strength. How do you define yield strength? Yield strength is that external load per unit area below which the body is perfectly elastic. Above which there is going to be elongation, permanent elongation. There is going to be permanent elongation, but the graph doesn't get retraced above this yield point, above this yield strength. If you apply the still more external load, there is a disproportionate increase in the length, of the wire. As a result, there will be permanent yield, permanent elongation present in the wire. So, up to B, O to B, we call it as region of elasticity, the graph of elasticity. From B onwards, there is going to be plasticity. From B onwards, we are going to have the region of plasticity. Okay, I will just mark it as region of plasticity. O to B, we call it as region of elasticity. Up to B, right? Now from B to C or from B to D, even for a small increase in external load beyond the yield strength, there is going to be elongation in the wire which doesn't get regained. Elongation in the wire is going to take place which will not be regaining its original length. So it is going to be permanent set elongation. From B onwards, it is going to be permanent set elongation. So we just take one particular point. For example, C is one point. So if we take out the external load at this particular point, then what happens? There is going to be permanent set in the permanent elongation in the wire. So C corresponds to permanent set. So first let us define what is yield strength. Yield strength is the tensile stress maximum tensile stress, you can say maximum tensile stress below which the metal regains its original dimensions. Original dimensions means original length, above which there is permanent set, that is called as deformation. Permanent set elongation means it's going to be deformation. That's what we call it as deformation. So this is how we define what is yield strength. So yield strength is measured in terms of maximum tensile stress up to which the body regains its original dimension, original length, beyond which it loses its original length and there will be permanent set elongation and permanent deformation in the taken sample of wire like this, right? So I have taken sample of a wire like steel or iron. like metal. It means different metals, different materials will have different types of behavior, different types of curves. That's what we are going to elaborate here. So from B to E, we call that region as permanent set region, and that is what we call as region of plasticity. B to point E is called as region of plasticity. Region of plasticity. I have taken just one example of C. C is one particular point in the region of B to E, where we can see permanent set elongation, which is about nearly 1%. It is about going to be about 1% or less than 1%. It's almost equal, greater than or equal to 1% elongation. Now, if you still increase the external load, then what happens? The elongation in the wire continues. Until what? Again, there is a question. So, the elongation continues until there is a maximum strength that it can hold. That point D is called as ultimate strength, ultimate tensile strength. Until that external load, the elongation continues to take place. Beyond this external load, even if you take out the external load one by one, step by step, even if you take out the external load beyond this and the tensile strength, the elongation continues. The elongation continues. And from D to E region determines how material is ductile or whether it is ductile or brittle. So, if this point E is very close to D, then it says that very soon the material is going to have fracture, the material is going to have break, it is going to have cut. So, this point E is called as fracture point. Okay. If D to E region is long enough, then that metal is said to be quite ductile or malleable and ductile. If the point E lies very close to D, somewhere here, then that metal or that particular material is brittle. Very soon it is going to have a fracture and break. That is defining the ductility. Okay. So, malleability and ductility can be studied in this region of D to E. So, D is, what is D? Let us first define. It is defined as ultimate tensile strength. D is called ultimate tensile strength. D is called ultimate tensile strength. This ultimate tensile strength is again measured in terms of stress, tensile stress. It is denoted by sigma U for ultimate tensile strength. It is that maximum strength of a metal beyond which, even if the external loads are taken out, even if the external loads are decreased, there is going to be continuous increase in elongation. There is going to be continuous increase in elongation. The material said to have the property of ductility. The material is said to have property of ductility. It can be drawn into thin wires. That is the strength. Okay. If the metal, if a particular material has very less kind of malleability, very soon it is going to have a fracture. Then such metal is said to be ductile. Okay. Let us define what is D. Now we define what is tensile strength of a metal, ultimate tensile strength of a metal. It is that maximum tensile stress a metal can withstand, beyond which there is a rapid increase in its length even when we take out the external load. Even when we take out the external load, even when we reduce the external load, when we decrease the external load, there is a disproportionate increase in length, disproportionate increase in elongation. So that ultimate strength of a metal is called its tensile strength. That is also measured in terms of stress, in terms of Newton per meter square. Okay, in terms of Newton per meter square. So every metal has got its own proportionality limit, its own yield point, yield strength, and its own value of tensile strength. By noting down these values, the applications of that metal will be decided in the constructing design of a building or a bridge or automobile, for that matter, even for roadways and so on, right? So this is how these points and this particular graph plays a very significant role in understanding the elasticity property of a metal, or even the plasticity property of a metal. You have seen from B to E onwards, B to E, it is having property of plasticity. So until what a metal behaves as a elastic, beyond that it will be possessing the behavior of plasticity. These things are very significant in deciding the use of a particular metal. Now from D to E, even when we reduce the external load, there is going to be elongation. D to E region determines the property of ductility or malleability. If D to E curve is longer the D to E curve, ductile is the material. Longer the D to E curve, more is the ductility, ductile is the metal. If E lies very close to D, E is actually called as fracture point. Fracture point, or it is that point at which the metal breaks. The metal gets a crack. The metal will no more have any plasticity, as well as it will no more have any elasticity. It has lost complete strength. That is what we call it as fracture point. That's what we call it as fracture point. It is that tensile stress beyond the value of ultimate tensile strength at which the metal or the material breaks. So if in the graph D and E are very close, if D and E are close in a graph for a particular material, then that material is brittle. So whether a material is brittle or ductile will be decided from this part of the graph, from D to E, right? Longer the D to E curve, more is the malleability and ductility. If D to E's distance is very short, if E lies very close to D, then the material is going to break at at any moment. So that decides brittleness of the metal. That's how this stress versus strain curve plays a very significant role in the choice of our metals in the construction designs of bridges, buildings, then automobiles, even for that matter ropeways and so on for different purposes. Right? Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day.